You are looking live outside the Rogers Centre, where inside, right now, Taylor Swift and her fans are probably blowing the roof off the building, singing every lyric to every song. It's night one of 6 sold-out concert dates. Hey there, I'm Ali Chiasson. It's the hottest ticket in town, and today thousands of fans spilled onto the streets of Toronto, eager to see their icon hit the stage. Our Dale Manukduk has been out amongst the Swifties tonight, and he joins us now. Dale, you know how I said I might turn into a Swiftie by the end of the night? Well, I think it happened. Have a look at this. There it is. I have my very own Taylor Swift friendship bracelet, courtesy of a Swiftie that we have in the newsroom, and it reads Toronto, which I think sums up the day pretty well, huh, Dale?
Very nice, Ali. And I see your Toronto bracelet. I raise you. This bracelet that I received, it's a white and pink number. It says, "In my monologue," that's a reference to Taylor Swift's hosting duties on Saturday Night Live in 2013. I had to be educated about that. But look, by all accounts, it is bumping inside. Like you mentioned, our CBC reviewer of this concert, Jackson Weaver, is inside, a man on the inside. He sent some footage in. It looks like Taylor Swift is performing her buttocks off. As the kids say these days, she's slaying, right? So by all accounts, this is an incredible experience for everybody that got to go. Could be the best night ever for some of her younger fans. And, you know, the excitement was through the roof, as you mentioned. And you know what else was sky high? The ticket prices, Ali. And we know that from the secondary market, some of those prices were the equivalent to 1 month's rent in Toronto. We spoke to some people who were mulling around outside after the concert got started, and they were trying to get last-minute tickets. Have a listen.
I'm trying as hard as I can. I was glued to my computer all afternoon. All afternoon.
What are the prices at right now?
Oh my God, like 2,000, 2,400.
Went for dinner nearby, came down. We were watching StubHub to see if the prices came down, but nothing less than, like, I think 1,500 Canadian a ticket was what we saw, so we're gonna call it.
What is the maximum you were willing to spend?
I said 1,000 here. I told my husband 800, so 800.
We've tried everything. We've been checking StubHub like there's no tomorrow, debating going into debt over it. Who knows? We could do anything.
I've spoken to a couple people in your spot.
I feel like you have tickets in your pocket.
I don't have tickets in my pocket.
Like
you are really hoping for this.
Yeah, I feel like you have a ticket in your pocket.
There's no Hail Marys that are going to be answered here. I promise. Now, Ali, I just got a second bracelet. This one says Lucky on it. Frankie just got out of the concert. She brought me this bracelet. Frankie, I want to ask you, what was the concert like inside for those of us who had to be outside of the building?
I think it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was really fun.
What was your favorite moment?
I liked the beginning part of it because I was really, really excited.
I'm really, really excited about this bracelet you gave me. Thank you so much, and have a great night. That's Frankie, just gave me this bracelet. She is one of the 60,000 people that will be exiting the Rogers Centre, spilling out onto these streets. By all accounts, Ali, the mitigation measures that were put in place to avoid any kind of traffic woes have worked. The designated drop-off and pickup zones, the closing down of some streets, the advice to take public transit into the city. We haven't seen any kind of really bad traffic congestion. And once this concert does spill out, the TTC is advising people to not go to St. Andrews or Union stations. They expect those to be jam-packed, so they're advising people to take some of these surrounding buses and streetcar routes to get to a station, which will have increased, more frequent service. Metrolinx also is increasing service. So this is night one of 6, 5 more shows to go. We'll do it all again. We'll send it back to you, Ms. Chiasson.
So much fun, Dale. Fun for everyone. Loved hearing from Frankie, too. Thanks so much. Now, there's a lot of prep work that goes into welcoming tens of thousands of visitors to the city and making sure that everyone stays safe. And that is the role of the Toronto Police. Talia Ricci has more on how they'll keep all of those superfans safe throughout the tour.
Toronto is no stranger to hosting major events in crowds, and police here say that experience is coming into play the next few days.
From the moment that we found out that Taylor Swift was coming in her 6 shows, we've been working very, very hard, not just internally planning, but also with our city partners, first responder partners, transit.
Taylor Swift's 6 sold-out shows are set to begin at the Rogers Centre on Thursday. Tens of thousands of fans will fill the downtown core each night. With that comes crowd management planning and additional safety precautions.
It really is like a whole of service, all hands on deck approach. You'll see many officers in the downtown core, and those will be both outside the venue and inside the venue. So part of our planning is not only for the event itself, but we have other competing events. So we have a Raptors game on one of the nights and the Maple Leafs. Part of our planning has been reaching out to other cities that have hosted, and I'm just really learning from their experience.
New Orleans has been through this too, and they say the experience took a lot of planning, but was smooth sailing.
The superintendent had a plan. We were going to use this event, knowing how big it is. We were going to use this event as a standard of practice going into the Super Bowls. We had no issues with anybody. Very respectful, very thankful. The New Orleans Police Department and the superintendent received numerous praise for the amount of police that they saw, presence they saw, how comfortable they were walking to and from their hotels all along the city.
While some of the increased police presence will be obvious, one security expert explains that there are a lot of measures happening behind the scenes too.
And there's a number of security intelligence aspects that for confidentiality reasons won't be shared, but there's a number of networks and platforms. There's significant scanning with social media. There is a lot of boots on the ground, if you will say, in terms of to identify risks, particular patterns of behavior.
Toronto police say they're monitoring threats and haven't had any so far.
You probably know on Taylor's tour, there have been certain concerts that have been mirrored with threats or allegations that police took active steps. And that is there again to ensure, everyone has a safe time and a enjoyable time.
Toronto police are asking that you don't come down to the area of the Rogers Centre and add to that congestion if you're not a ticket holder for the event. They say they'll be posting on their social media channels over the next few days to update the public on any issues that might arise. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
To other news now, police are investigating a double stabbing at an apartment building last night near Fort York, which left one man dead.
Officers attended and located these 2 individuals inside of the apartment with life-threatening injuries. First aid was rendered by officers and paramedics. Both individuals were transported to local hospitals where they were tended to. Ultimately, one of those individuals passed away.
That second person who was injured remains in hospital tonight fighting for their life. Police say both men knew each other. There are no outstanding suspects and no risk to public safety. We have new details about that brazen shootout this week on Queen West. 2 undercover police officers were caught in the crossfire of what is believed to be a gun battle between 2 rival gangs outside of a recording studio. Greg Ross has the latest.
It is something that we see in TV and movies, but it's not something that is actually played out on our streets.
Police say they are still piecing together the events that led to this on Monday night. Gunshots heard echoing through the streets of Toronto.
We believe it's gang-related, obviously, but there's the beginning of the investigation.
Police say the gun battle revolved around a party that was taking place at a recording studio inside this building at 1196 Queen Street West. Investigators are taking a close look at this video that was posted online Monday night. Several young men can be seen waving guns in the air as they dance. Police believe it was recorded at the party.
That is definitely part of our investigation. At this time, we're alleging that it was taken at the club, but we haven't confirmed that yet. My understanding, it was a birthday celebration that was taking place inside that club.
A 20-year-old man who was out on bail for firearms charges is believed to have been at the party that night. Police say he was wearing a monitoring bracelet. 2 plainclothes officers went to the recording studio to do a compliance check on that man. They were parked outside in an unmarked car when they saw a white Honda pull up nearby.
3 males exited the Honda, all armed with handguns, and discharged approximately 50 rounds towards the rear of 1196 Queen Street West.
Police say it's possible they went there after seeing video of the party posted online. Several people from the party returned fire at the three men, who then ducked for cover behind the unmarked police vehicle with the plainclothes officers still inside.
Bullets pierced through the front, back, and sides of the vehicle, narrowly missing the officers and riddling cars and surrounding buildings.
Police say in all, nearly 100 rounds were fired. Somehow, nobody was hit or injured, but 8 people are now facing a variety of charges as a result of the gun battle.
Among them was a 16-year-old male who, during the investigation, was determined to be one of the suspects wanted in a homicide.
Police have charged the 16-year-old with second-degree murder in connection to a home invasion back on April 25th of this year.
There were 3 suspects that entered this residential unit at Long Branch and Lakeshore area. He was one of those 3 individuals.
30-year-old Matthew Burgart was shot and killed in the home by the intruders. Today, police had 16 guns on display that were all seized after Monday's shootout. 4 of them had been altered to make them act as machine guns.
The machine gun conversion devices are the little devices affixed to the rear of the slide of these handguns. What these devices do is essentially convert a semi-automatic handgun into a fully automatic machine pistol.
With the machine gun conversion devices, police say these guns can fire upwards of 900 rounds per minute. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to a story that we have been following out of Brampton. A Peel police officer was facing backlash for some footage that circulated online, and it showed the officer taking a swing at a protester. Today, Peel police have released body camera footage that shows the interaction, and they are defending the officer's use of force. Brittany Billette explains.
This was one of the videos that shows a Peel Regional police officer striking a protester outside a Hindu temple. From this angle, it appears that the officer approaches them and not long after starts throwing punches to their head. Later in the video, the crowd shouts angrily. He is the one! He is the one! The altercation took place outside the Hindu Sabha Mandir on November 3rd. That was the day pro-Khalistan protesters and pro-India supporters clashed outside its gates. Police say they arrived to respond to a trespassing complaint. In a video posted today, Peel Regional Police addressed the altercation between its officer and the protester.
We understand that the video has caused concern and criticism within our community. As is the case with most bystander video during police interactions, the video lacks context and begins mid-interaction. What the video doesn't show is the officer identifying a protester for the purposes of seizing a weapon that he's holding.
Peel police released this body cam footage that shows what happened from the officer's perspective and said that following an investigation, the officer was found to be acting in the lawful execution of his duties.
Use of force applications never look good on camera, and there's just no way to pretty that up. The tactics used are often up to the officer's discretion. Officers sometimes have to improvise. In this case, soft and hard physical control was the choice the officer made, and it's very much in compliance with the Ontario use of force model.
Having the body-worn footage, really shows clearly that the police officer was simply trying to remove a weapon from a chaotic scene and trying to keep the peace. I think the police handled a very difficult challenge.
This use of force expert says the body cam video doesn't answer every lingering question.
Body-worn cameras are probably better, in my opinion, than not having body-worn cameras, but we also have to look at how we're treating that video and who it is that has a privilege to give an opinion on what's going on in that video. Ultimately, it's up to the public to decide what counts as good police work and what doesn't. And we do that through our organizations like the Inspectorate of Policing, and we need to empower those organizations to do that work to maintain trust between the public and the police.
In response to that incident and others, Brampton City Council passed a bylaw that restricts protests at places of worship.
I don't want to see anyone intimidated from going to pray. I don't want to see scenes of violence or chaos outside a place of worship. I think we need to do a better job of making sure places of worship are safe spaces, are sacred areas where freedom of religion can be respected.
The restriction would make it the 3rd GTA city to introduce a bubble zone around places of worship, following in the footsteps of Vaughan and Mississauga.
Protest is a constitutional right. It's protected as a matter of freedom of expression. It's protected as a matter of freedom of peaceful assembly. And protests are always to some extent disruptive. They can cause some kind of, offense or be upsetting to people.
To City Hall now, where the battle over bike lanes was front and center. Today, councillors heard it could cost $48 million to remove the lanes that the province want gone. Our City Hall reporter, Sean Jeffords, joins us now to break it all down. Sean, some councillors were talking about ways they could fight the province on this. What have they decided?
Well, Ali, just moments ago, City Council voted to formally object to this request from the province to remove the bike lanes on Bloor, Yonge Street, and University Avenue. This motion from Mayor Olivia Chow also does a couple of other things that are really worth noting here. It also requests that the province reimburse the city if any of those bike lanes are actually ripped out of the street, and it asks the city solicitor to look at the legislation and look at the regulations when they come into force and see if there's room for a legal challenge, which does seem like a bit harder fight for the city, but those are the things that the motion lays out. Now, what we heard down here today from a lot of city councillors was frustration, and here's Diane Sachs, councillor for University Rosedale, expressing just that. Let's hear from her.
Well, every single one of you can think of a better use of $50 million than tearing up a street that has just been built, which should last 75 years, in order to make the city less safe, less clean, more expensive to get around in. It's a totally dumb idea. It would also mean massive disruption.
So, Ali, you can hear right there from Councillor Sachs the desire to push back against the province. We'll have to see where it goes, though.
And Sean, as we know, there are some members of council who aren't fans of those bike lanes. What were they saying today?
So Councillor Brad Bradford and Councillor Stephen Holyday have been amongst two of the most vocal opponents of some of these lanes. Councillor Holyday and Bradford object really specifically to this bike lane on Bloor Street and the west section of Bloor that it occupies. They're saying that the city really has done this wrong. They've engineered it incorrectly and that it needs to change or it needs to come out altogether. And what's happened here is the province has stepped in to do the work that City Council has been unwilling to do for months in listening to residents. So you've also got Councillor Brad Bradford saying that he does not necessarily believe the city staff report numbers. He thinks that they've lumped them together in a way that, he'd like to see parsed in a different way. So let's hear from Councillor Bradford on that.
I think what you're seeing in the staff report, the tone there, and certainly some of my more ideological colleagues, is that it's all just this $48 million hit, and I don't think that's the case across the board. I am skeptical of those numbers.
So, Ali, Councillor Bradford had a motion that came before Council that was defeated that would have seen Council endorse a move to pull those lanes out itself and not have the province do that work. But as I say, that did not pass.
So where does this issue go from here?
That's going to be one to watch. Mayor Olivia Chow seems to be really stressing that what she'd like to do is come to some sort of solution that's negotiated with the province, not move to that legal challenge that, the door's been open to with that motion. Now, let's hear from Mayor Olivia Chow. She was on Metro Morning this morning talking about what she'd like to see in terms of a solution.
Even if the bill passes, I hope it doesn't, but if it passes, at least they have the power to do so, but they don't need to do it immediately. Let us work on some of the details. Plus, they are naming 3 bike lanes. If there is pain point in some key areas, we'll work it out.
So, Ali, one last thing I'll leave you with here is another motion that passed from Deputy Mayor Mike Cole. Council backed an endorsement, or endorsed a motion of his that would, if those lanes come out, see the city investigate putting signs beside them saying, effectively, the congestion that's caused by the removal of these bike lanes is the fault of Premier Doug Ford. So obviously a pretty aggressive push there as part of this overall effort from City Council.
Fascinating. Thank you so much, Sean. Welcome back. Now we have meteorologist Chris Potter here with us in the studio. Now, Chris, it was a beautiful fall day today. Still don't need the big parka yet.
Yeah.
You could still wear, you could just bundle up with layers.
Layers.
I still like that. How long is that going to last?
I mean, this forecast is going to basically include that. We're talking about above normal temperatures over the next 5 days for daytime highs as well as overnight lows. The normal daytime high for this time of year, believe it or not, obviously below that 10-degree mark. It's around 7.3. And the normal overnight low is actually below zero at -0.3. Obviously, we got a taste of that 2 nights ago, and we're looking at stable conditions actually for the overnight. Daytime highs today were around 9 for Toronto, 3 in Ottawa, 10 through Windsor, and 11 through Chatham. Rainfall did move in. The rainfall risk continues, but it will diminish through the overnight, thanks to low pressure continuing to fade south of the lower Great Lakes and weakening as it does so. The only thing that will remain in place will be a lot of cloud cover across southwestern Ontario, south central Ontario, eastern Ontario clears out, and as a result, you're going to find yourselves with much cooler conditions out east compared to the GTA and surrounding areas. We still, unfortunately, hold on to quite a bit of cloud through the afternoon. There will be some sunny breaks, but I think that's the best we'll do for the afternoon. It's really the late evening and overnight as high pressure continues to wedge itself in from the west that we'll start to see that cloud more effectively clear out. And that will lead us to a beautiful Saturday ahead. Sure, we have northerly winds, but they're going to be light, and daytime highs will be in the double digits, I promise you. High pressure then continues to drift off towards the east is Saturday night and into Sunday, spawning more of a southwesterly wind. Doesn't really dramatically boost our highs because cloud cover does move in, but it looks dry for Sunday. It's not until Sunday, late evening, and perhaps into the beginning stages of the overnight that there's any risk of showers. In terms of the winds, they've been coming in from the south and east. They will gradually become more east-northeasterly as we head through the overnight and into the day tomorrow, but the winds will be light, so that's not going to be an issue for tonight or tomorrow. In terms of the overnight lows, look out east where it will be clear. -1 in Peterborough, -3 in Ottawa. We're going to sit at 6 in Toronto, 8 through Windsor. In terms of daytime highs, not a dramatic oomph in those temperatures because once again the cloud cover's in place. Temperatures will peak at around 9 for the city of Toronto and around 11 to 12 down towards Windsor. Once we get into Saturday, once again, mostly sunshine anticipated. Get out there and enjoy it. I might go golfing. I'm just throwing that out there. Sure, I'll dress in layers. 12 for us on Saturday, 11 on Sunday, increasing clouds. Once we get into Monday, we become mostly sunny. And then by Tuesday, once again, we'll get into mostly cloud cover. Highs around 10. But look at those overnight lows, Allie. That's what I was trying to point out. Instead of below zero, we're in basically the mid-single digits on average. So it's still going to be cool in the morning. But it's not going to be frigid cold.
I like it. And weather oomph, is that a meteorological term?
It's in the back of the book, but we still use it.
Hey, I like it.
Oomph.
Thank you so much, Chris Potter, and thank you all for joining us. That is our show for this evening.